I went to school. Before I was released, I ended up going to school. I ended up getting 4 college degrees. I graduated with honors while I was incarcerated. And I knew that hopefully one day I would, have the opportunity to come home and start a business. By this time, I had changed my life. And being incarcerated, what's usually talked about is trucking. All of
Mm,
my peers were like, hey, when I get out, I'm going to get into trucking. I'm going to get into trucking. And I knew for myself, I didn't see myself becoming a truck driver and being over the road. That just wasn't for me. But because I've been an entrepreneur in sales my entire life,
mm,
um, unfortunately, being involved in the wrong type of sales as well. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, but changing my life from that, I knew like, what can I do in trucking that's not gonna make me be out there on the road? So while I was incarcerated, my wife would send me books on how to start a freight brokerage, and so I started studying. I started getting familiar with it. I became familiar with the terms, preparing. What I was doing was preparing for my release and opportunity. So I was released in February of 2021. And in my first 3 months, I built my personal credit from 0 to 750. In 6 months, I qualified for a home loan. In 8 months, I bought my first home here in Southern California, which you guys know the real estate market is crazy. And in 9 months, I scaled my freight brokerage to over $2 million, all while living in a transitional home. I was still living in a transitional home according to my parole conditions. So from a transitional home, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, calling the East Coast and calling Central Standard Time, then going to work. I had a 9 to 5 job, and then going to work, coming back home, going to school, taking a freight brokerage training program, taking sales programs, and started getting into LinkedIn outreach, cold emailing, and cold calling, and eventually scaled my brokerage to $2 million, which would eventually lead to starting a trucking company.
ooh, man, congratulations, Raphael, man. That's intense, man. A lot of people.
Thank you, brother.
That's a huge success story, man. That's the kind of success stories I love to hear, man. People that come from very, very troubling times and can kind of transcend those issues, right? Just taking everything um that's thrown at them and kind of create something totally different from it. So, man, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I know you've shared a little bit about past struggles. Is there like another particular struggle or challenge from your early days that kind of shaped how you now approach helping, owner operators?
Yeah, I would say, when I started, one thing that I'll share with you guys what happened is, you guys know, in 2023, times were hard for trucking. Yellow Transportation went out of business. Convoy filed bankruptcy. Um, we had like 100,000 transportation companies went out of business in 2023. This is what happened, guys. I got into sales. I freaking grew so fast, and then I started the trucking side, and I grew so fast that actually my insurance got canceled because I brought on too many trucks too fast, and my insurance got canceled. Really, what my butt. Um, I didn't do proper inspections on my vehicles early on. Later on, I ended up buying a lemon, which really, really made me lose a ton of money. I started hiring drivers without really vetting them. I got into the habit of, and I don't mean to offend anybody when I say this, but I got into the habit of thinking like a trucking company. And what I mean by that, just let me clarify, what I mean by that is, a trucking company is a business. Whether you're an owner operator or a trucking company or a broker, it's a business. And so cash flow is so important. So even when you grow fast, if you're not managing your cash flow, if you're not managing, do I have enough money to pay my drivers or pay my fuel or pay my insurance? And things happen in trucking. You're going to have a breakdown. I'm very fortunate. My family actually has a diesel mechanic shop up in Oregon. And so I was very fortunate. They gave me, once I bought that lemon and I lost a lot of money, I went to them for all my questions, and they kind of put me up on a lot of information. So I fell into the trap of like, man, trucking is easy. I get a truck, I put it in the road, I make money. And I forgot that I'm running a business. I forgot that I'm running a business, which means accounting, bookkeeping, paperwork, documentation, and um and all those things were a headache that I wasn't prepared for. So I kind of had to go back to the drawing board. I had to remind myself, okay, how do I run a trucking company as a business? And so those were some of the hurdles that I got too far ahead of myself too fast. I got ahead of myself too fast, and 2023 really scared me. Almost put us out of business, but by God's grace, man, we were able to get back to our foundation, get back to sales, and do what we needed to do to get back on the right track, or on the right road, I should say.
Nice, man. I want to ask you a little bit about cold email, and I have to dive into the how you did 2 million from like a transitional housing.
Yeah.
What that kind of got you into cold email, because I don't think enough people actually know how to utilize cold email in the trucking industry. Where did you kind of learn that skill set, and how did you kind of develop that in that situation that you were in?
Man, really, YouTube University, man. I came home and I'm in a transitional house, and a transitional house. I was part of my parole conditions, and being in a transitional house, I'm around a lot of people who unfortunately are um, under the influence of drugs and substances, that are still involved with a certain lifestyle, a lot of distractions, a lot of loud noises, and it was really hard to try to start a business that way. And so I had to find creative ways. Plus, I had a 9 to 5. So what I did was I was looking for ways. How do I find customers while going to work and having all these distractions? And so I started going to YouTube, and I started learning about cold emailing, and I started learning about LinkedIn outreach. I paid a lot of money, guys. I spent thousands, if not no more than that, tens of thousands of dollars. So as I was working my 9 to 5, saving money for my house purchase, as I was making enough money, I put it back into my education. I invested in myself, and I started taking cold email programs, LinkedIn programs, outreach programs. A lot of the popular freight broker programs that are out there, I've probably taken most of
Mm.
them. And so that's what I did. I invested in my time, and I was on YouTube late at night, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, learning how to do cold outreach, cold email outreach. And that's what I started doing.
Hmm. I love it, man. Is there like a certain metric that you like, certain KPI that you track or pay attention to the most when you do cold emails?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked actually. So when I first started learning about cold email, I learned the theory of cold email. I'm gonna be honest, like a lot of these guys on YouTube that tell you this is how you make money on YouTube, they're just trying to sell you a course. It's not really, I mean, this is how you make money with cold email. They're just trying to sell you a course or their software or their affiliate of something. And that's not really how it works. I started tracking open rates. Open rates was so important to me. How many people are opening my emails? But the conversion wasn't there. So even though I had a high open rate, the conversions weren't happening. And so I stopped tracking. I went a little bit further, and somebody actually gave me some insight. He's like, "Who cares about your open rates? Your
Mm.
open rates don't matter. It sounds good and it looks good for the
Mm.
internet, and it looks good for marketers. But the only thing that matters is conversions that lead to business." And so I stopped tracking email open rates, because Google and Microsoft, as they continue to advance as email providers, it will send your emails to spam if they see that you're tracking it, or if they see that if it looks like spam, if they pick up on any of those things. And they do that when you put an unsubscribe link, or if you put a lot of links, or if you have a lot of pictures in your email, or if you it will go to spam, and then your open rate will start to close. So what I look for is not really so much open rates anymore. That's how I started. I'm looking for responses and replies, and I suggest at least 5 attempts per contact. So if John Doe is one of my prospects I'm reaching out to, I'm trying to reach out to him at least 5, 6, 7 times via cold email. A lot of people are busy, especially people who work in logistics as shipping managers. They're very, very busy, and they might miss your email, but when they start needing help, they're going to reply. So just follow up. I would say you need to be very consistent in your follow up.
Mm. I love that, man. I love that. I could sit here and talk about cold email all day, man, but I don't want to
Yeah.
do it. But let's keep moving forward, man. What kind of inspired you to name the company Faith in Transit? And how does that name kind of reflect, the company's values?
Well, a couple things actually. First, I'm a Christian. Anything I do is a Christian based business lifestyle. I know it sounds stereotypical. You're in prison and you turn your life around, you find Jesus, all that stuff. It sounds stereotypical. But for me, I didn't want anything to do with God. I grew up, I didn't have a mother around. My mother was on drugs. I didn't have a father around. I grew up a very dysfunctional household, and which eventually led me to prison. My choices led me to prison, and I didn't want anything to do with God. But thank goodness he was faithful to me, even when I wasn't faithful to him. And so eventually just I humbled myself, I opened my heart, and the Lord totally changed my life, my vision, my views, and my values. I came home, and that was a very part of that was a to this day, and it always will be. It's a big part of my life and will never change. And one of the things I learned from mentors and from others is relationships. You know, it's hard in today's society. It's hard. How many people have been scammed online, right? Especially in logistics and trucking. How many people have been scammed? It's really, really hard to find somebody you can trust. And so, faith in transit, first, it represents my faith and our faith as a company, and it represents the faith we want others to have in us, to trust us with your freight, trust us with your safety if you're a driver, trust us with your safety if you're an owner operator.
Mm, big impact. Big impact, man. Huge. Well, cool, man. Your company has experienced like remarkable growth recently.
Yeah.
What do you believe kind of sets Faith in Transit apart from other carriers?
Relationships and not transactions. One
Mhm.
thing I realize a lot of carriers, and again, I don't ever mean to offend anybody when I say these things. I'm just sharing from my opinions and from what I've seen. Are very transactional. And what I mean by transactional is you go on a load board, you find a load, and you book the load, and you move on. Brokers have a bad reputation in the industry, and I think it's really I don't mean to in fact, I'm not going to say names, but it's usually the larger companies, right? It's usually the larger companies that really create a bad reputation for the smaller brokerages. And I know as a broker, starting from the brokerage side, I when I was booking freight with carriers, they don't ask my name, they don't want to know anything about me. All they want to know is, do you have a load? How much is it paying? Thank you and goodbye. You know, I don't build a relationship with a lot of, I didn't get a chance to build a relationship with a lot of carriers. A lot of carriers, in my experience, were more transactional. Faith in Transit were more relational. When we talk to a broker, we don't want just the low details. We're like, hey, my name's so and so. Who are you? What do you guys do? Oh, do you guys run this lane regularly? You know, asking questions to the broker. Don't be afraid to ask questions to the broker because they might not have a dedicated run for you today or right now. But if you show them, hey, I'm reliable, I'm trustworthy, I can move your freight on time, and we communicate well. Brokers hate when you lie to them and you say, oh, I'm 5 minutes from the pickup, but really you're like 5 hours from the pickup. Just be honest. Hey, I apologize. We're going to be late because of X, Y, and Z. Brokers appreciate that more. So, what separates Faith in Transit from a lot of other carriers, I believe, is that we focus on relationships and not just transactions. We want to know, hey, can we work with you in the future? Do you have any upcoming lanes? Is there anything we could do for you? And also, what separates us is sales. We're not just looking for loads off of a load board. We're also reaching out to shippers. We're reaching out to shippers. We get lanes regularly. You know, we got a lane with 75 loads a week. We got another lane on the West Coast with 20 loads a week. We have some more lanes in the Midwest, 20 loads a week, 15 loads a week. So we're building relationships with shippers and with brokers. I think that's what separates Faith in Transit from some of the other carriers in the industry.
Mm, man, definitely doing it right, man. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about what about that owner operator or that carrier company that's kind of you know, doesn't have the time to do the outreach or feels like he might be overwhelmed. What kind of advice do you have for them? And what was kind of like your decision-making process when you started to build a team around what you were doing?
Yeah, a team. You know, building a team. That's what it comes down to. Sometimes people don't want to build a team, and this is just speaking from my experience. I'm not speaking for everybody. Some people that I know, some of my peers in the industry, they don't want to hire a dispatcher or a salesperson because they feel like I don't want to give up more of my money. I want to keep as much as I can, so I don't want to hire accounting. I don't want to spend money for software or systems. And I get that. I definitely get that. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But in order to really scale, if that's your goal, if your goal is to scale and to grow, you're gonna have to give up first before you get anything. I'll give you an example. I think of Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon.
Mm.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. You can Google it, but I think he owns like 9 or 10% of Amazon. He only owns nine. He's the second richest, third richest man in the world, and he only owns 9 or 10% of his own company, Amazon. Then you have somebody like Elon Musk, who owns Tesla, the richest man in the world, or the second richest, and he only owns like 16, 17, or 15% of Tesla. What I've learned is, in order to scale, you have to give up. before you can expect getting anything. So for those who are looking to scale and want to grow, I encourage you to start building relationships. See if there's somebody somebody you know that you're willing to work with. Give them a chance. It may have to come out of your pocket a little bit, and you might be wrong. That somebody might scam you or something. It didn't work out, but don't let that stop you from working with the next person. Because I've gotten burned so many times, guys, since I've been in trucking. I've been scammed from brokers, carriers, dispatchers. I've been scammed a lot, but it doesn't impede or it doesn't stop me from engaging in another relationship with somebody else. I realize that just because somebody else did it doesn't mean everybody else is going to do it. So like Amazon and like Jeff Bezos at Amazon and Elon Musk, we have to be willing to give up in order to scale and go further. There's a quote I heard. It says, "By myself I can go fast, but together we can go far."
Man, 100%. Now, you've grown really, and I mean, it's no, I can tell exactly why you were able to grow and why you're still being able to grow, just from this conversation alone. And I think anybody will be able to do the same. If you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the comment section. I know this one is going to be probably one of the best live streams that we've had in a very long time. But let's talk about the support system you built as well. Kind of walk us through how you help, a new owner operator kind of transition into your fleet.
So the support system we have, in growing our own company, we're always looking for ways, like I was sharing, to run a business, to how can we both be most cost effective. So we look for ways to cut back on fuel savings. We've looked for ways to optimize routes, have dispatching, a number of dispatchers have. We also have a diesel mechanic consulting part of my family business. So a lot of our drivers and owner operators are able to reach out to him, ask for, hey, my truck broke down, what should I do? For example, some of our own company trucks, we got a quote on a repair for like $7,500. Our driver would call our diesel mechanic, who's been doing it for over 20 years and over 30 years. They'll call them and say, hey, my truck broke down. The truck broke down. They quoted $7,500. Our mechanic says, send me your diagnostics, send me the quote. He'll look through it right away and troubleshoot over the phone in a couple of minutes and say, no, you don't need this, you don't need that, do this, this, and that. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, a $7,500 repair went down to $1,500. I mean, those repair costs can really, really catch up with you. So having access to somebody like that, almost 24 hours, like I've seen them respond at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. Having somebody you can reach out to do that really helps. We also use I compare it to like a AAA service. We have like a membership with a company where if you have a breakdown, they'll go bring you fuel. They'll give you a key replacement, almost like AAA. If you guys know what AAA is, like if you're ever locked out of your car, they'll do a certain amount of work for you for free a certain amount of times throughout the year. And that's what this service provider does too. So that helps us with repairs, preventative maintenance. That's another thing. We try to keep our trucks, we have warranties on our trucks. We try to make sure we have preventative maintenance on a regular basis. And we have our own diesel mechanic shop that we can reach out to. So that really, really helps control our costs dramatically. That alone on the diesel side helps lower our costs dramatically. And then just optimizing routes, communicating with the drivers and owner operators, seeing what their goals are and working with them. And then on the sales side, so if we have an owner operator on the West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, Southeast, wherever you may be located on, we have a sales team that focuses on those regions. So, and just so everybody knows, realistically, it usually takes 3, 6, or 12 months to get a contract, because how contracts work, when a shipper sends out a RFQ or an RFP, which is a request for quote or a request for proposal, they send it out either every 3 months, every 6 months, or every year, depending on the size of their company or the industry that they're in. And so then you put in a bid. You say, hey, we can do these 10 lanes for this price, and hopefully we get it, but sometimes we don't. But we keep working at it. So the other thing is, we're not just living off of a load board. We have a sales team that's constantly calling just about every region in the United States, in the 48 states, I should say. And then if there's any requests from owner operators, they can reach out to our customer service. They can reach out to our team, let them know, hey, I need help with this or with that, and we do everything we can to help them out. So from fuel, mechanic stuff, routing, planning, dispatching. I feel like we've built a good support team. I'm not gonna say we're perfect. I don't expect perfection. I expect progress. I'm not gonna say we're perfect, and I think we're definitely progressing in a good way.
You definitely offer some unique bonuses and operational support. But from just curious, what's been like the most rewarding success story that you've seen from an owner operator who's joined the team?
Man, it's funny actually. So, this is the one. Somebody asked me like similar questions like that. This is the one that always comes to mind. I remember we onboarded an owner operator, and the last company didn't pay him. The last company didn't pay him, and he had lost distrust. He had lost trust in a lot of carriers. It just wasn't. They're a lot of carriers. They want you to run 20,000 miles a day. I want you never stop your truck. That's how we all make money, and that's not how we operate. So he got in the truck and he picked up a load. Our dispatch team was helping him, and he got a load and he got tired, and he called me. He ended up calling me. He's like, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm a little tired and I'm going through, it's dark over here in the mountains or something like that. And he's like, I just want to give you a heads up so you know where I'm at. And I'm like, hey, if you're tired, pull over to the next rest stop. He's like, I can't. The delivery is at I get the goosebumps remembering this. He said he's been in trucking like over 30 years, I believe. And he said, I can't. The delivery is due at 6 in the morning, and I gotta go nonstop in order for me to make it on time. I'm like, look, I get it, that's great, but your safety comes first. Pull over. I'll send it out an email to the shipper. I'll let them know, unfortunately, we're gonna be a little delayed. We apologize, and if there's anything we need to do to fix it, we will. And it's crazy, but he's a grown man, been doing trucking for 30 something years, and he got emotional with me over the phone. He's like, I've never heard of a company telling an owner operator or driver to pull over and be late to a delivery for your safety. No one has ever told me that before. And I told him that's how we work, man. Like nobody's perfect, whatever, let's work on that. I'll send out an email. I'll let them know we're going to be a little late, but your safety comes first. So pull over, be safe, and we'll finish the load. So that's what comes to mind when you say one of my proud moments, or one of the moments I've been most excited about, is we're a company that we're real, and we don't overpromise people you're going to make $1 million a day. We don't do that. We inform, we educate, and we build relationships. And so that's something I'm very proud of at our company.
Gotcha.
Now, I'm not saying you should be late. Now, I'm not saying owner operators don't think it's okay to be late, because it's not. But in those circumstances,
yeah,
things happen.
Gotta be on time.
Yeah.
Gotcha, man. So I guess as Faith in Transit just continues to grow, what's your vision for the company's future?
1,200 trucks, company-owned trucks and owner-operators in the next 3, 5, maybe 7 years, really depending on where the Lord allows us to go. We've been growing incredibly fast. I think it's the team that we have, the people that we have. Man, so many doors have been open to us, and not because myself or anybody in the team is special or unique, or we have some secret sauce that nobody else does. We're a company that believes in people. Well, everything in our homes has been on a truck. Truckers are needed. Drivers are needed. Carriers are needed. Freight brokers. I know some of you guys aren't going to like this, but we're needed too, right? I come from the freight broker side. The point is, logistics is a huge industry, guys. It really pushes our economy. It really, really pushes our economy, and it stimulates our economy. The transportation industry directly affects every citizen, every resident, everybody in the United States is affected by the trucking industry. So we've been very fortunate. We build relationships. A lot of doors have been opening for us. And the vision I have is, I want to reach 1,200 trucks within the next 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 years.
That's huge, man. That's super huge. How do you see your role in kind of shaping the next generation of successful owner operators right now?
Humility. What I mean by that is, having success is great. There's a saying I read before. In prison you read a lot, so I've read a lot of sayings. There's a saying, when success turns a man's head, he faces failure. When success turns a man's head, he faces failure. We want to just continue to be humble, whether we have 1 truck or 1 million trucks. We want to be humble. We want to listen to our drivers. We want to listen to our owner operators. We want to listen to our brokers. And most importantly, we want to listen to the needs of our customers. So being humble, be willing to learn from anybody. Just because we may have a certain level of success, it doesn't mean that somebody else who's just getting started may not have a fresh take on things, that may have a different look on things. So being humble, open to learning from others, being consistent, and continue to focus on the relationships with people.
So for any owner operators listening right now who might be kind of struggling or feeling stuck, what message of hope would you like to share with them?
You know, I didn't share this at the beginning, but I'll share it now. So when I was 18, I was actually sentenced to life. I wasn't just sent to prison, I was sentenced to life in prison. And for many years, I lived in a small little box, I don't know, 6 by 9 or whatever that was. And 18 years old, when you hear that you're gonna live the rest of your life in prison, man, it really sucks. And you can lose hope. Um, but what I learned is, there's a lot of things that are out of our control. I put myself in prison. Didn't nobody put me there. I put myself there. But there's a lot of things that are out of our control. The only thing that we can control is ourselves. So if anybody's out there losing hope, hey, sometimes business is hard. Elon Musk was like $62 million in debt. Jeff Bezos almost lost Amazon. Um, Kmart and Kodak cameras, these big companies, big organizations went out of business or have totally went down. It can happen to anybody if you don't stay humble and you're not willing to learn. So falling on hard times can happen to anybody, but you got to be strong. You got to be committed. When I was in there and I felt like losing hope, I learned that again, the only thing I have control over is myself and how I respond to any situation. And so I decided to make a change. Even if I was never going to get out, I decided to make a change for myself, not for my family or my friends or my peers or for anybody else. I decided to make a change for myself. And in doing so, my change came from the inside out. And I was given an opportunity to come home, and I have not wasted that opportunity. So for any owner operator that's fallen on hard times, often it's perspective. Often it's just perspective. My encouragement is humility, build relationships, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's so many people out there in the industry that are willing to help if you ask. And and again, at the end of the day, the only thing you have control over is yourself. Just be humble, be respectful, do the best you can, ask for help, and I believe you'll make it through. I believe you have a very good chance of making it through.
Those are some super powerful words. Those are definitely words of wisdom. Man, I really appreciate you hopping on today. Is there anything that you want to kind of just leave the audience with, or just anything you want to share? How can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out, and if they want more information on Faith in Transit or just anything that you want to leave?
Yeah, 100%. So some last words I'll share is, I've had the opportunity to be mentored by some incredible people. I took a program while I was incarcerated called Defy Ventures, one of the most amazing programs I've ever taken on entrepreneurship. And I got mentored by some amazing, successful people. One thing I learned, there was a gentleman who was telling us he worked at a venture capital firm. Venture capitalists are rich people with a bunch of resources and staff. They invest in businesses. And, the thought is like a Shark Tank. The thought is, oh, if you have all this resources, you should always be successful. You have the money to always be successful. And they shared, um, out of all the, on average, and you could probably Google it if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, and this is coming directly from this multi-millionaire, billionaire people, they said, you might only get it right once out of every 12 to 15 ventures that you invest in. You might only get it right once, but that's all it takes. So it put things in context for me. It told me, like, if these rich, successful, amazing, and brilliant people get it wrong, only get it right once out of every 15 times, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. So my encouragement, my last words I'll share with you guys on this stream is it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. Failure is a part of success. Failure is a part of success. You don't succeed without failing first or learning some very, very valuable lessons. So if people who are multimillionaires and billionaires only get it right once out of every 15 to 20 times, then it's okay for me to mess up some 10 or 20 times as well, right? And so, but if you want to get a hold of us, if you can email would probably be best. You can email me directly at Raphael, RAF at faithandtransit.com. Raphael at faithandtransit.com. And if you want to give me a call, you can give me or a text message. Actually, honestly, text messaging probably the best way to get a hold of me. I get so many spam calls. You can text me at 323-961-4121. Again, that number is 323-961-4121, or my email, Raphael at faithandtransit.com.
Gotcha, Rafa. And you guys are focused mostly on flatbeds, dry vans.
Flatbed. We do mostly flatbed. We have some reefer. One of the lanes that we have on the West Coast is reefer going from Idaho into California. But mostly flatbed, predominantly a flatbed company.
Gotcha. You guys are doing a lot Midwest, Southeast as well.
Southeast is one of the best markets for when it comes to flatbed. The Midwest as well. We got some stuff going from Oregon, directly from shippers going from Oregon into Texas. So we got some freight kind of all over the place, but we do predominantly, I would say 80%, maybe 75-80% flatbed. The rest mostly reefer. I don't think we're doing any power only right now off the top of my head. And dry van, I don't think we touched dry van in a little while.
Gotcha. Well, awesome, man. It's been a treat. Definitely a pleasure. We definitely have to do one of these soon. I think we could, man, just hearing the rest of your story, I feel like there's a lot that you can contribute to a lot of people just from a mentorship space, a coaching space, especially when it comes to the trucking industry. A lot of people, I think, need it. Just that topic about fear, right? Rejection pays a lot of the times in business. And, just hearing that you kind of understand that and how that's kind of helped shape your perception and help you evolve in your business. I know there's a lot of different topics that you can kind of cover. And, I just want to thank you again for being on here with us.
Yeah, thank you. 100%, brother. Really appreciate your time and just giving us the opportunity to be a voice.
Absolutely, man. Well, definitely enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. And if anybody's on here and I haven't gotten back to you yet, just know that I'm in the middle of the jungle and I don't have the best reception. Don't think that I hate you, but I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And, we're going to figure it out. So again, Raphael, thank you. And look forward to speaking with you soon.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, brother. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye.